You hear it about 2 in the morning. Not a loud thing. A small scratching up inside the wall by the head of the bed, and then it stops, and you lie there in the dark waiting to see if it comes again. And it does. A little further along the wall this time, and you lie there and you think, well, there it is. Now, here's what most folks do the next morning. They go to the store and they buy a box of poison and they set it out under the sink, and for about 2 weeks they think they have handled it. They have not handled it. And I am going to tell you exactly why. Because it is the whole reason for this video. That mouse did not wander into your house by bad luck. He came in through a hole, and he came in because your house is warm and it has food in it, and he is going to keep coming in through that same hole for as long as that hole is there. Kill him and another one uses it by Thursday. There is no shortage of mice. There is only a shortage of holes, and right now you have got one. So a box of poison is not a solution. It is a subscription. Up on this mountain where I was raised, nobody bought poison, not because they were pure about it, because it costs money every year and it did not work, and because a poisoned mouse dies in your wall where you cannot reach him, and you live with that smell for 3 weeks in August. What they did instead was close the house. And I want to be plain about what I mean by that, because it is the difference between fighting mice for the rest of your life and being done with it. They did not go to war with the mice. They made the house not worth coming into, and they shut the doors the mice were using, and then it was over. That is 15 separate small habits, and I am going to count you down every one of them from 15 to 1, the way my granddad had them. 3 things before we start. Number 11 is a measurement, one number. If you remember only one thing out of this whole video, that is the one, because near everybody seals the wrong holes and leaves the ones that matter. Number 5 is an animal, and it is the best mousetrap ever made, and it has not been improved on in 4,000 years. And number 1 is not a method at all. Number 1 is the thing all the other 14 were pointed at, and it is the reason the old people did not think of mice as a problem the way we do. But before any of it, I have to tell you the dangerous part, and I am telling you early because this is the thing people get badly wrong. When you find where they have been the droppings, the nest and the insulation, the mess behind the drawer, do not sweep it and do not vacuum it. I know that is exactly what you want to do. Do not. Dry mouse droppings and dry nest material can carry a virus, and sweeping or vacuuming puts it into the air as dust, and then you breathe it. That is the actual way people get hurt by mice in this country, and it is not the bite and it is not the mess. It is the cleanup. Here is the way to do it, and this is the Centers for Disease Control's own instruction, not mine. Put on rubber or latex gloves. Mix about 1.5 cups of household bleach into a gallon of water, or use a household disinfectant. Wet the whole mess down thoroughly and let it sit. Then wipe it up with paper towels, bag it, and wash your hands. Wet first. Always wet first. Never dry sweep. Now, my name is Amos. I was raised back in a holler where the nearest store was a long way off and the money was shorter than the road. My people have been on that mountain longer than anybody kept count, and I have never had a mind to leave it. Near everything I am about to tell you, my granddad wrote down. He kept a ledger, an account book, the kind you would keep for a store, except what he put in it was not money. What he put in it was how a thing was done. Every way of doing a thing he was afraid would get lost. And he made me promise it would not die with him. This is me keeping that promise. If you have not subscribed, go on and do that now. Not for me. There are hundreds of these in that ledger, and I mean to get all of them out. All right, 15. Number 15, read the sign. Before you close anything, you have to know what you have got and where it is walking, and mice will tell you if you look. Droppings first. A mouse dropping is about the size of a grain of rice, dark, pointed at the ends, and here's the useful part: they do not pile them in one place. They go as they travel. So a line of droppings is a road map. Follow where they are thickest, and you are following the route. Gnaw marks second. Fresh gnawing on wood is pale, the color of the inside of the wood. Old gnawing has gone gray and dirty. That tells you whether you have got mice now or had them last year. Grease third, and this is the one nobody knows. A mouse runs with one side of his body against the wall, always, because he does not see well, and the wall is how he navigates, and his fur is oily. So along a route he uses every night, he leaves a faint, dark smear on the baseboard, low down about an inch off the floor. Get a flashlight down at floor level and look sideways along your baseboards. If there is a road, you will see it. And sound. Scratching in the wall at night, always after dark, usually the same hour. Take 20 minutes and find the road before you do anything else. Everything from here down works better if you know where they are walking, because where they walk tells you where they came in. That is next. Number 14, follow the wall. Mice do not cross open floor if they can help it. Out in the middle of a room they are exposed, and every hawk and cat and owl that ever lived has taught them that. So they run the edges, along the baseboard, behind the stove, under the cabinet toe kick, along the joist in the crawl space. Their whole world is the seam where the floor meets the wall. Now, that is worth knowing for two reasons. The first is that it tells you where to look for the entry. Follow the grease line and the droppings back and back, and they will lead you to the wall they are coming out of. The second is that it tells you where a trap goes, and that is the single most common mistake I see. Folks set a trap out in the middle of the kitchen floor like they are fishing. A mouse will not go there. A trap goes hard against the wall on the route, and we will come back to exactly how in number 4. Now, why is he in your house at all? Because you are feeding him. That is next. Number 13, take away the reason. A mouse needs about 3 grams of food a day. 3 grams. That is a thimble. He is not eating you out of house and home. He is living off the crumbs and the spill, and there is more of that in a normal kitchen than he can get through. So before you seal anything, take away the reason. Crumbs under the toaster and behind the stove, the bag of dog food in the garage, the bird seed in the shed, pet bowls left down overnight, the compost bucket, a dish of cat food on the porch is a dinner bell, and I have watched people wonder for a year why they have mice, and grain especially. In my grandmother's kitchen, there was no such thing as a bag of anything sitting on a shelf. Flour, meal, sugar, beans, rice, every one of them lived in a tin or a crock or a glass jar with a lid, not because it looked nice. Because a paper sack is not a container to a mouse, it is a suggestion. Sweep the floor at night. Every night, before bed, in the winter, that one habit does more than any trap you will ever set. Now, what do you put the food dye in? That is next, and there is only one right answer. Number 12, tin and glass, not paper and not plastic. A mouse will chew through a paper sack in a minute and a plastic tub in an evening. His front teeth never stop growing his whole life, so he has to gnaw or they grow into his own jaw. Chewing is not a choice he makes. It is a thing he must do to live, which means plastic bin with a lid is not storage. I have seen a mouse go through the corner of a plastic tote like it was butter. Metal and glass are different because he cannot get purchase on them and he cannot wear them down. A lard tin, a galvanized can with a lid, a big glass jar, a crock, those are mouse proof and they last 50 years. That is why every old pantry you have ever seen in a photograph is rows of tins and jars. It was not decoration. It was the entire pest control system for the food. Get your dry goods and your pet food into metal or glass, then a mouse that gets in finds nothing, and a mouse that finds nothing does not stay and does not breed. Now we start closing the house. And it starts with one number, number 11, the 1/4 of an inch. This is the number I promised you. A mouse can get through any gap bigger than a 1/4 of an inch. That is the width of a pencil. That is a gap you would walk past every day of your life and never call a hole. That is not my figure. That is the Centers for Disease Control's published number. Seal every gap greater than a 1/4 of an inch. And it is why the poison never ends. People seal the holes they can see, the fist-sized gap where the pipe comes in, the broken vent screen, and they miss the seam under the siding, the gap at the corner of the sill plate, the space where the cable comes through, the 1/4 inch under the garage door. He does not need a door. He needs a slot. Here is how to hunt them properly. Wait for dark, go inside, and have somebody walk the outside of the house with a bright flashlight held right against the wall. You stand in the crawl space, the basement, the closet, and look for the light coming through. Light gets through everything a mouse gets through, and it shows you gaps your eyes will never find in daylight. Do that once, and you will find 5 holes you did not know you had. Now, what do you put in the hole? Because most of what people use, he chews straight back out of. Next, number 10. The thing they cannot chew. Caulk alone will not hold. Expanding foam alone will not hold. I have pulled foam out of a hole with a mouse tunnel bored right down the middle of it. Wood does not hold. Plastic does not hold. What holds is metal, steel wool packed hard into the gap, copper mesh, which is better because it will not rust and stain the siding, hardware cloth, that is the stiff 1/4-inch wire screen cut and folded into a bigger gap, sheet metal or flashing over a hole in a board, cement or mortar into a masonry gap. The reason is simple, and it is the whole trick. A mouse chews by getting his front teeth into a surface and working at it. He cannot get purchase on wire, and when he tries, it hurts. He gives up and goes somewhere else, and if you have done the rest of this list, there is no somewhere else. The old way was tin. A flattened can nailed over a gnawed hole in a corn crib, a strip of tin around the leg of a granary. Same principle exactly 100 years earlier. Pack the steel wool in tight, then caulk or foam over it if you want it to look tidy. The metal is doing the work, the caulk is just holding it in and keeping the weather out. Now, where are the holes actually? Because they are not where you think. Next, number 9, where they really get in. People look for holes at eye level. Mice come in low, and they come in at the places where 2 different materials meet. The sill plate, the seam where the wooden frame of the house sits on the foundation. That is the single most common way in, and on an older house, it runs the whole way round, where any pipe or wire or cable passes through the wall. Somebody drilled a hole for a 1-inch pipe and drilled it 1.5 inches. That extra 1/4 inch all the way around is a doorway. The dryer vent. Half the dryer vents in this country have a broken flap and nothing behind it. Under the garage door, at the corners, where the seal has gone hard, crawl space vents with the screen rusted through, where the deck or the porch ties into the siding, and the roof line, because mice climb better than you think up a downspout along a branch and under a lifted shingle or a gable vent. Start low and work up. Sill first, penetration second, vents third, roof last. Now, some of those high routes only exist because something is leaning on your house. That is next. Number 8, cut the bridges. A mouse is a good climber, but he is a coward about open ground. What he wants is a covered road right up to the wall, and most houses hand him one. Ivy or any climbing vine on the wall. That is a ladder with cover on it, and it is the reason old ivy covered houses have mice in the upper floors. Tree branches touching the roof or hanging within a couple of feet of it, he will make that jump. Shrubs planted tight against the foundation so he can move along the whole side of the house, never once out in the open. Tall grass and weeds right up against the wall. Cut it all back. Ivy off the wall entirely, branches back so nothing touches the roof. A clear band of bare ground or gravel 1 foot or 2 wide all the way around the foundation, kept mown and kept empty. That bare strip is doing something specific. It makes him cross open ground in the dark to reach your house where the owl can see him. Most of them will not. And there is one bridge people build on purpose every single autumn. Next, number 7, the woodpile. Stack firewood against the side of the house is the best mouse hotel ever devised. Dry, warm, hollow, full of hiding places and touching your wall. They nest in it. Then they move 6 feet sideways into your house when it turns cold. Move the wood pile away from the wall, 20 or 30 feet if you have got the room, and up off the ground on rails so it is not touching dirt either. Bring in a few days worth at a time and look at what you carry in, because a mouse nest travels indoors in an armload of wood as easy as anything. Same for the stack of lumber, the pile of feed sacks, the old cabinet in the carport, the leaf pile. Anything with a still, dry hollow in it up against your wall is a nest waiting to happen. Now, the second pattern break, everything from 15 down to 7, has been about the house deny the food, close the holes, cut the roads. That is the half that actually ends it. What is left is the half people ask about most, and I have to be honest with you about how well some of it works, especially number 6. Number 6, what they cannot abide. People ask this more than anything else. What smell keeps mice away? The old answer is peppermint. Oil of peppermint on cotton balls, tucked in the back of the drawer, behind the flour bin, in the corner of the pantry. My grandmother did it and her mother did it. Some folks swear by mothballs, some by cloves, some by a bar of strong soap in the drawer. And here is where I am going to be square with you, because I would rather be honest than sound clever. It is the weakest thing on this list. A strong smell will move a mouse along when he has got a choice. Peppermint in a drawer that also has nothing to eat in it will keep him out of that drawer. But a mouse that is cold and hungry and has found a warm hollow wall will walk right past a cotton ball, and any man who tells you a bottle of oil will clear a house is selling you something. Use it. It is cheap and it does no harm, and it works in small enclosed places, drawers, cupboards, the glove box of a truck that sits all winter, a camper in storage. That is genuinely where it earns its keep. But use it as the last 5% after the holes are shut, not instead of shutting them. And I will say one thing plainly on mothballs. They are a pesticide. The label is the law, and the label does not say scatter them loose in the house. The smell you are enjoying is the chemical you are breathing. I do not use them indoors, and I would not. Now, the thing that genuinely does work and has for 4,000 years. Next, number 5, the cat. The best mousetrap ever built is a cat that hunts, and no one has improved on it since Egypt. But there is a right way to keep one and a wrong way, and the wrong way is why people say cats do not work. A fat cat does not hunt. A cat fed all it can eat, free fed from a bowl left down all day, will lie in the sun and watch a mouse walk past. Barn cats hunt because they are lean and interested. Keep the cat properly fed but on meals, not a permanent buffet, and he will hunt for the reason cats hunt, which is that they like it. And a cat's real value is not the mice he catches. It is the ones that never move in. A house that smells of cat is a house a mouse reads as occupied. The whole colony next door goes somewhere else. Now, the honest part. A cat is a living animal for 10 to 20 years, not a device. Do not get a cat as pest control. If you were going to have a cat anyway, keep him lean and let him work. If you were not, get the traps instead, and do not take on an animal you do not want. And a dog is not useless here either. A terrier is a serious mouser. That is what the breed is for. Now, most of you will use a trap, and most of you are setting it wrong. That is next. Number 4, the trap set right. The old wooden snap trap is still the best tool for the job, and it costs about $1, and near everybody uses it wrong. Placement first. And this matters more than everything else combined. The trap goes against the wall, not out in the room. Remember number 14, he travels with one side touching. So the trap sits flat against the baseboard on the route you found in number 15 with the trigger end toward the wall. Set it perpendicular, sticking out from the wall like a rung so he runs into the business end whichever way he's going. Bait second, and use less than you think. A smear of peanut butter the size of a pea worked into the trigger so he has to tug at it. A great blob just lets him lick it off the outside and walk away. Peanut butter or a bit of bacon or a scrap of soft cheese. Chocolate works too. Numbers third. This is where folks lose. They set one trap, set 6, set a dozen. They cost $1 each. And mice do not come one at a time. You never have a mouse. You have the ones you have seen. Set them in pairs a foot or two apart along the same run, because a mouse jumping the first one lands on the second, and leave them alone. Set them and let them be a few days. Handle them as little as you can. The reason I put the trap above the poison, and it is the whole argument of the next one, is that a trap kills quickly and it kills where you can see it. You know it worked. You take it outside. Nothing dies in your wall. That brings us to the one I feel strongest about. Number 3, the bucket. If you have got a barn, a shed, a garage, a feed room, anywhere with real numbers, the bucket beats everything. A 5-gallon bucket, few inches of water in the bottom, a ramp up the outside, a scrap of board or a stick, and across the top, a tin can or a length of pipe spun on a wire through the middle so it turns freely with a smear of peanut butter on the can. He walks the ramp, steps out for the food, the can rolls under him, and he goes in, empty it every morning. That is not optional, and it is the part people skip. A bucket left standing is cruel, and it is a mess. If you are not going to check it daily, use snap traps. 1 bucket in a feed room will do more in a week than a case of bait because it resets itself. It does not need setting between mice. And it costs about $4 once. Now the one I promised. Number 2, and this is where the money is. Number 2, never the poison. I want to give you the honest history here because it is worse than most people know. Rat and mouse poison mostly works as an anticoagulant. It stops the blood clotting and the animal bleeds internally over several days. The newer ones, the 2nd generation compounds, were built to kill in a single feed. And here is the problem with that. They stay in the body. The mouse takes a lethal dose and then wanders around for days with poison in his tissue. Your cat catches him. The neighbor's dog finds him. The owl that has been hunting your field for 9 years takes him, and it goes right up the chain. That is not a theory. It is why the law changed. In 2011, the Environmental Protection Agency stopped the 2nd generation compounds, brodifacoum, bromadiolone, defenacoum, defetiolone from being sold in consumer products at all. They are professional use only now. 3 years before that, the agency capped consumer packages at £1 and required tamper-resistant bait stations outdoors to keep it away from children and pets. And the loose pellet form was banned outright. And I will say the fair thing, because I would rather be straight than sound like I am running a campaign against somebody. Those rules were right. They were written for good reason, and the products on the shelf today are safer than the ones my father could buy. But look at the shape of it. A thing was sold into ordinary houses for decades. It poisoned pets and it poisoned owls. It took federal rulemaking to rein in, and the whole time the thing it replaced sealed the house, keep a cat, set a trap properly, worked better, cost less, and never needed a regulation written about it. And the practical objection is simpler than any of that. A poisoned mouse dies where he is warm, and where he is warm is inside your wall. You cannot get him. You live with it for weeks. Every man who has ever done it has said the same thing, and he only ever said it once because he never did it again. And now number one is not a method. There is nothing here to buy and nothing to set. Number 1 is this: you do not get rid of mice. You make your house not worth entering. That is the whole thing, and it is the difference between the old people and us. We think of it as a war. There is a mouse, and you kill the mouse, and you have won until the next mouse, and you go on doing that forever. That is why the box of poison feels like an answer. It is a weapon, and a war wants weapons. They did not think of it as a war. They thought of it as a door. A mouse comes in because there is a way in and a reason to come. Close the way and remove the reason, and there is no war to fight because the mice are still out there living their lives and simply not in your house. And once you see it that way, everything on this list stops being 14 separate chores and turns into 2 questions you can ask standing in your own yard. How is he getting in? And what is he coming for? Answer those 2 honestly and go fix what the answers tell you, and you will not be doing this again next winter. That is the part that matters. Not that it works, that it is done. The old people were not better at killing mice than we are. They were better at finishing. Now, those were not mine to keep. They were handed to me, and I have handed them to you, and I would take it kindly if you did not let them die on your watch. Do one thing this week. wait for dark, get somebody to run a flashlight along the outside wall, and go look for the light coming through from the inside. Do not seal anything yet. Just look. I promise you will find a hole you did not know about, and once you have seen it, you will not be able to leave it alone. Next time, we are going to talk about the water. There was a spring up above our place that ran clear and cold and sweet, and every soul in that holler drank out of it, and the test they used was the only test anybody had, which was that you could see the bottom. Clear water is good water. That was the rule. And I am going to show you the sanitation codes that got written about springs like that one, and I want you to notice that they got written after the burying and not before it. Tap subscribe if you have not, so that one comes to you. There are hundreds more of these in that ledger, and I mean to pull every last one of them back into the daylight before I am done. So pull up a chair by the fire, the old ways remembered. I will see you next time.